So I prepare, we're gonna have like 3 blocks, and we're gonna start with the first block that somehow is connected with the movies we have been watching. The 2 movies that are Becoming a Ghost, the last one we have seen, and also the first one. What? The Grannies? Yeah, thank you. So something very that happened with those 2 movies, that is the wandering. You are like a flaneurs. You have no goal. You just explore the video game, explore the world, explore the map. So in the Grannies, you can get until the borders, the very borders of the world, playing with the glitch. In Becoming a Ghost, you can convert a battle royale map in a family meeting as an occasion to meet with your brother that lives far, far, far away in a war situation. So that's this virtual environment stop being mere backdrops for gameplay and start functioning as a landscape to be inhabited, mapped, and resignified. So the question for you 3 is, from your different practice and perspectives, how does this shift from goal-oriented play to wandering and inhabiting reshape the video game as a territory? Can artistic practice like machinima and game photography reclaim or subvert these corporate-owned worlds, and how? Who want to start?
Hi. Okay, well, for me, the very same fact of creating the machinima is already trespassing and putting in tension the thing that you were mentioning about who owns the game, who owns that experience. Because the players are now, they are setting up the rules. They are saying, okay, I'm not going to do what you want me to do in this game. I'm going to create my own experience, even if it's for a little while. So that very same act is already setting new boundaries and creating something different. Did I reply?
Totally.
Do you want to continue? Or? I'm also thinking that games might also offer spaces that haven't been even like imagined by their developers or their creators, and also might help people to reflect on issues that again that the developers haven't even planned. And that's, I think, that the last piece that we've seen, it's a great example of that. No, I'm sure that developers never thought that game will help 2 brothers who have been separated by the war in Syria to reunite and to reflect on all the similarities and differences between the simulation and reality. So, yeah, I mean, even if many games, and particularly this format of games, which is like quite limited, like the mechanic is very straightforward, even there's room to do this kind of artworks. And it depends on the decision also of the people who is at the command, to take it wherever they want. So yeah.
I think that what is interesting, I agree with all of your comments, but I think that if we look at the nuances, then there's like many different ways in which this kind of reclaiming of the game or using them differently can diverge. Because, yeah, like being a tourist, maybe from the perspective of in-game photography, right, there is this thing like pockets of freedom where you take a snapshot that reminds you of, like you're taking a snapshot while you're being a tourist. But then changing the game, modifying it, or making a machinima that could be also political and subversive is a very different subversive act, right? So like the possibilities offered are quite big. And I think sometimes companies also want, as I said before, that these machinimas are reclaimed. If we think of red versus blue, right? Like it was this kind of machinima that emerged in the late 90s, right? Or early 2000s, which was then bought by Microsoft. So, right, like then where do we stand on this conflict? And more generally also, if we think about games as spaces you know, like I think the Black Lives Matter protest in Splatoon, or the Free Hong Kong protest in Animal Crossing, that led to the game being banned in China, right? Like those have repercussion also in the outside of the game boundaries, which I think that is different than just allowing people to kind of play differently, right, within the game. So there's something about like the different ways in which you can start being a tourist and then you kind of become a political activist almost, no?
Yeah. I mean, there is always a tension between the way the game asks you to play and the way you decide to play. I mean, but what does it mean for you being a tourist in a game environment? What are the practices around the tourism in a game environment? What are the possibilities? What, in your experience as curator, practitioners, artists, what are usually what people does when they decide to be a tourist in this environment?
I guess that the Grannies is the great example of that. No, when they like manage to travel beyond the map or beyond the like prescribed map, and they find another place. When I'm trying to explain it to students who might not be so familiar with this, I always, with photography students in particular, I try to make the relationship with the idea of the sublime and how photography has been with the idea of the sublime in like landscape photography of mostly the Western U.S. And how the Grannies for me, in that moment in which they go beyond the map, they suddenly confront the digital sublime somehow, which is like this sort of like glitchy space that is so digital and so specific of game aesthetics and mechanics even, or logics, that while it can be understood by photography practitioners because this like history, it's quite different on the aesthetics, so it might get like them closer to understand how it works. And it's a very also like, at the end, it's a little bit shallow because it's just looking at the aesthetics without like thinking much about how those aesthetics have been built. But still, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, no, I wanted to add that it's okay, and I think it's necessary to offer both experiences. I mean, just enjoying the aesthetics, it's super important, and then you also can have the more activist and politic part. Mm-hmm. It's not that one is more important or necessary to show. But I would say that if you are going for the political and activism, like on the second one, then it's important as curators to provide them context to understand that, because otherwise it would be just enclosed for a few that either know the game or know about the artist. But if we really want to invite the audience to join us in that tourism, in that enjoying these other experiences, then spaces like this conversation now, or accompanying the work with the text, providing more context into what happened behind and around that makes the difference. Otherwise, it's just something nice when it wasn't intending to be just something nice.
I was thinking, so one thing that I thought maybe about like game tourism, or like this kind of touristic perspective. If I think about the Grannies, for example, or other practitioners, there's this affective dimension too, right? Like we're taking images to capture a moment that we share together in this space. Same for these selfies in World of Warcraft when you have the guild and then you take a screenshot of all the people that aesthetically might not be as, maybe that also goes back to that question about like, even if they're not so photorealistic, they're still very photographic because they carry the same emotional side of tourism photography, right? I take a picture with my friends, and that means a lot to me as a memory of a shared lived experience. At the same time, I go back to what I was saying, that even this cannot be taken in isolation, even if the intention is just that. Because the example of the Granny is very interesting because we see them exploring and documenting a glitch, and then the patch notes at the end, no, the glitch gets fixed. So we could also see these images as a proof for the company that there's a problem to solve, right? So the moment that I take this image, is a personal shared experience. It's a sublime moment. It can also be some sort of like more political idea of like going behind the texture. But at the same time, it's also complicit in this system of the game to always improve itself and fix itself, right? And now, games now are, of course, always networked, right? So I cannot just play with the disk, right? Like the game will get patched and they will not be able to go back to these spaces that they found.
Yeah, for me, be a tourist in a game world means also about connection, emotional connection. That's a very great part of the meaning of being a tourist for me, in my experience. So if you think about some other works, artworks that connected with this idea of have a strong emotional connection with the territory, video games as a territory, as a place to meet, a place to be, a place to develop yourself. What have you in mind?
I guess maybe the most populated ones. I mean, that's the first thing that came to mind to me. Just because many more people from different backgrounds and locations might like strangely meet. Maybe that's not where like the most meaningful relationship start, but it is where like the most difficult relationships might happen on an online sphere, on a digital sphere, and that's quite important and quite interesting as well. Also because there are some notions and some things there that every player can choose, in relation to the avatar and this kind of thing, so it also helps to present yourself as you would like. I mean, within certain constraints, of course, of the game itself. But yeah, these massive games, I think those are like a really nice phenomenon, as like to see how these relationships might happen in like big format, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe since you ask about artworks, also what you were saying reminded me maybe of like Rock Herms, no? Like his project in a PlayStation Home. So this kind of that was like 5 years, right, in the making until the last few days until the platform
He's
closed.
here. He can say.
I think he had to leave to a stag party.
Yeah, sorry.
Or is he still here? Yeah, so we have Rock Herms here in the room and in the city, and that, of course, that's a project that very much connects to this emotional side. So I think Rock... no, I'm a curator. I will talk about his... No, I'm joking.
You can talk
about his work.
You can talk about him. I let you. I've been
profession.
curating him also, so please, you can talk. Do you want to say something, Rock? Do you want to add? Yeah. Please, a microphone to Rock. We have one. Thank you. It's wonderful. Rock is a great artist. I had the pleasure to curating him. Like Marco did and Jon. So please, tell us.
Well, I think that as a photographer, one of the things that and as a gamer too, one of the things that make me document this virtual world for a long time was because at some point I realized that there was people there living part of their lives, and that it was not the virtual world and the real world, but everything that was going on in that virtual world was real, the relationships and the kind of emotions that we experience in the physical world. And this was I think, was the main issue that got me hooked up to try to document what the different lives that people were experiencing in that environment that they did not give them many things to do, but a lot of different people find like a purpose or something to do inside that wall. And I think that this can happen in different levels in different video games, but I think that's nice to be able to document that.
I think, I think the Rock works, he shoot the social relationship that are built on top of this game world. It's something. It's like an anthropological work for me, in my view. So we have like two ways to think about photography and game worlds, where game worlds converts themselves in landscape, and you shoot at them as a landscape, as a piece of landscape, but also as a social relationship place where things happen between people. And I think the works we have watched talk about that. One about more the landscape thing, and one about the social. What do you think in-game photography is more focused on? What is the primary material, raw material of this art practice?
What do you mean the primary material?
I mean, if they are more, in your experience, they are more into the social relationship that are built on top of the game worlds, or more on the landscape part of game world as a landscape, so as a photorealistic picture of something that exists somewhere.
Yeah, well, I think in-game photography is also a big umbrella terms for many different practices. So you have these and many more genres. So it's hard for me to tell you, if it's one or the other. I think it's both and many other traditions. Some of them come also from photographic traditions. So yeah, you said like this anthropological or ethnographic visual essays, or like where the photographer tries to kind of capture emotional states, different people and subjects in this light. Some traditions of landscape photography and architecture photography are equally present in games. So there's, and that's why I was saying like that. For me, like glitch in-game photography is particular, maybe, but many other styles and genres are built upon existing photographic styles. So there's a lot of different ways in which photographers and artists deal with the images from the game.
There is something special about the image, video game image. I mean, for example, Luján, why you start to work with video game as art? What does means the video game image for you? Moreover, the practice you build, I mean, in-game photography or machinima or whatever. What is for you this image created based on video? In your practice?
Well, actually, in my practice, I work more with video games themselves than with machinima and photography game. That is something that I'm approaching more recently, or that I have shown more like anecdotally. And what interests me is the medium itself, all the possibilities outside the mainstream. Actually, what these two works that you were showing are telling, all the things that you can do with video games beyond entertainment and beyond what the video game itself, the industry offers you. So it's about the narrative, it's about the aesthetics, it's about the stories, the visual, the sound, the concept that it can show. And it's also about breaking the screen, jumping outside the screen, and how the people, the audience, the players can appropriate those games and create new stuff. And that's when machinima and photography in game appear. So it's a relation, it's the experience, it's not just the game itself, but what happens within and outside when the game encounters the player.
I'm totally agree with you. And so just to finish this first block, Jon, I mean, I have prepared, I've curated this beautiful exhibition that in a place that usually works with people that came from regular photography, let's say. So how is this relationship, how this kind of new works join or come to dialogue with this community that are not used to this kind of image?
I was thinking, in fact, let me just connect your question also with what you asked to Marco about how photography is present on in-game photography. I was thinking there's some kind of subgenre in in-game photography, which is reproducing traditional photography series that we have seen over and over, and sort of remaking them and trying to update them within a video game scene, which is nice in one hand because they are trying to sort of push up the boundaries of what traditional photography should be by placing those works that we've seen in the physical world within the video game. But at the same time, it's sort of a little bit of like, come on, we cannot like come up with anything better than just repeating what we've seen already done in, I don't know, in landscapes of California or like the usual tropes of photography. So it's, for me, from the practice of like photographers engaging with video games and doing this kind of works, it has this like conflicting reaction to me because there's certain hope on students and artists like going a little beyond of like we've seen so many times over and over in photography, but at the same time, when I see that there's not much new by repeating the same formula again and again, it gets also a little bit like, come on, you could go a little bit farther than this. So yeah, that's sort of like ups and downs that I get from more from the practice that the people visiting the show. It's quite hard. I mean, as a curator, and that's something that I guess the four of us might share. It's quite hard to get a sense of what the audience thinks of a show, particularly when there's not much critique. And even if there would be critique, it would be like the opinion of that person who has criticized the work. But getting like a sense of what's the general feeling about the show is quite hard. So the people that I have like made guided tours, they seem to be quite happy. That's the most I can say, I guess.
Cool. So this blog, I call it Avatar Never Lies. It's a text I wrote like a couple of years ago for a exhibition. I was invited as guest curator. But it's based on this idea that I explored here in an exhibition here in Barcelona called The Mask Never Lies. It was an exhibition at CCCB. The idea behind that is that Avatar is a mask, but a mask not always is hiding your identities. If you look deeper, look closer, a mask is something that really make your identity. Say something about your identity. Say a lot. Thinking about, for example, the superhero mask. They are not Bruce Wayne, they are not Peter Parker, they are Spider-Man, they are Batman. We understand them through that mask. So something similar happened with video games. Avatar never lies because Avatar always says something about you. So in these two videos, we have been watching like two different strategies or two different ways to think about Avatar. For one side, in Playground, this last movie, we have seen as Avatar could be endangered by the social body, by the social norms, could be harassed, and could be a place of even violence. And to the other side, we have the other movie, Guided Meditation, that help us to understand how the Avatar could be a place where embody your own practice of meditation, explore yourself, and liberating yourself, maybe when your own body could not do that. So there are two different ways to understand the Avatar. So I would like to talk with you about the Avatar and what is the Avatar, what is the meaning, what is the value of the Avatar in game wars. So the first question is, from your respective roles as artists, curators, how do you read and work with this tension when presenting avatars and digital body to an audience? This tension, I mean, I refer to all these possibilities that you have with avatars. How do you exhibit, talk, and present the avatar? Who want to start?
Theme. Yeah. I like to work with this tension to show both sides of the same coin. And again, context is everything here. For me, this links video games directly to performance art, to the history of the body in the arts and how the body is actually it's a political body. So it's what you show, the bodies that you show, who shows, what kind of bodies are you showing, who gives voice to that body, who talks and connects to those bodies. So for instance, if you are thinking on the first machinima, it's an amplified body that allows to experience things that you might not be experiencing in the real life. So video games or machinima or these kinds of work of arts allow the artist and allow the audience to see that there are other possibilities and to rehearse all that possibilities and maybe to dream with those possibilities and make them reality. But on the second one, they are showing all the dangers that already are there, that can happen. And it's important not to dismiss that as, okay, it's just a fantasy, it's just a game, it's just a work of art, and just repeat that. But if you are showing that, again, provide context and give voices and provide a way out of that. So again, for me as curator, I like to show both sides, both possibilities, and provide the instance of the possibility to have a conversation on that and either create the future to make be possible or stop the second one.
Yeah.
I'm like having a hard time finding the right words today.
Not at all. Not at all. I promise. Thank you. Please, guys.
I was trying to think on any show that I've created where the avatar was quite important, and the only one that I can come up with is one in which there was an artist who played with the idea of the monster and playing with a social trope, I guess, or cultural trope, to reflect on that, and also because he was or he is from a country where, from the Western world, we might look at them as monsters. So I think that, for me, at least is like the most important part of avatars, or what interests me is like this tension between the chosen and the chosen avatar, but also like how there's no way to escape the reality that surrounds that choice. So how it is both like a decision that you do consciously to choose an avatar, even if it is just an experiment, but at the same time it even draws something from your physical or not physical reality into that decision. No, for instance, on Playground, the guy seems to be clearly Argentinian.
Seems so.
No? I would say so. Because of the language that he uses and the T-shirt that he wears. Or he, I'm assuming as well.
Not a good image for Argentina.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that even in that context in which it's sort of like harassing another player, is still drawing all these all these signs that might point out somewhere, to someone. And the first piece, the filmmaker, I was talking to her, and she explained me that at the moment of doing that piece, she was going through a lot of physical pain on her body. So, it was a way of exploring also those things, but you can still feel on the piece that there's certain sort of pain.
Pain,
yeah.
That's the word, totally.
Yeah, so this tension between the chosen decisions, but also what you bring of yourself on those decisions, it's something that I think is quite interesting for me.
Nice. Sorry, just a quick comment. I'm definitely not seeing the Argentinian shirt that was using the guy, we don't know, the avatar, but because for me it was gendered. What I was looking at was a male aggressing or harassing a child. So all my gaze was guided to this, and I didn't see at the stripes and the shirt, but definitely it was an Argentinian shirt. Yeah. Marco, please.
What can I add?
A lot. Of course, a lot.
You've had a show with some avatars in there quite recently?
Right. Yeah, I curated a show called How to Win a Photography a few years ago. And I was like, one piece we didn't have in the show, but I think it was quite important about the specific. I think this idea of avatar is also a terminology that kind of, I don't want to say it feels dated, but it goes back to this very specific moment in time where we had this, I would say late 90s, early 2000, where we have this notion of reconciling the physical with the virtual, right? So that now I think it's much harder to kind of find this division. But I'm thinking there was this photographic project by Robbie Cooper of...
I was thinking about that beautiful work.
There's like two pictures, a portrait of the player next to the avatar, and you see like...
Alter ego.
Alter ego, right?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because you see exactly what you said, right? Like some players will try to restage themselves or how they kind of like to be seen, and or for some others there's totally escapist a strategy to become someone completely different. And at the same time, I think that now the discourse has moved a lot to this idea of NPC and main characters, which have then seeped into more like political realms outside of the game, right? It's been used also in this neoliberal settings in which ideologies of, an NPC means that you're like a sheep and you're not thinking individually, whereas like the main character is also critiqued for being like this, kind of capitalist person that comes with this dominating attitude. But I wonder that if the complications also from this notion of this avatar that enters and disturbs the gameplay that we've seen is further complicated by a lot of like AI and machinic agencies that has come into games as well, right? Like the moment in which we cannot tell if the person on a Reddit forum is human or non-human. And similarly, I think when I think of games, of course, Journey comes to mind, right? Like that Journey was this like multiplayer game, and then the studio decided to not allow any communication except for this was like this kind of jump thing, and you were never sure if you were actually playing with a bot or with a human person, right? And so that I felt complicated once again, this idea of avatars and characters in this virtual world. So maybe this is taking it a bit further from what we've seen, but I feel that now this kind of contemporary condition is further complicated by us living in this interconnected system between human and non-human characters, right? So this disruption is this, we're gonna say, this alleged Argentinian guy or bot, like trained on different. And so how do we deal with that when we think about all of this kind of impersonification or kind of connection between the virtual and physical self?
Yeah, there is something that I like a lot. Well, the art job, the art piece you mentioned, the alter ego from Robbie Cooper, make it clear, this possibility, a true avatar to querying your identity to be something else or to be you really in anything. What does it mean for you? So, but until now there is this direct connection between one identity and one person. But what happens when you start to be multiple identity? When you start to be not a human anymore, but a flock of birds. Now I'm thinking about Atwell, a beautiful game from Argentina studio. In some part of the game, you convert in a cloud in part of the environments. So what happened? Not just about querying the identities, but querying the gender, but also querying your identity in a post-humanistic way somehow. What possibility we can think about when we play with these multiples subjectivities that are not human, are more than human.
On Juan Covelli's work here at the show, it's playing with that. Because I was just thinking, of course we have a piece here playing with the avatars. So if you haven't seen it working, is basically restages riots that took place in Colombia, and offers you to experience them from different points of view. Like you can be rioters, policeman, you can be one of the rioters, you can be even dove, that you are flying there, no, and a pigeon that you can see, how, because there was a moment, I mean, during the riots, some colonial monuments were taken down, and some of them were taken down by helicopter, or taken up, in this case, I guess. So you can see, as a pigeon, how all these riots took place. And for Juan, this sort of like a help, or might help, to offer different points of view of a very complicated moment in the country, in which many also external agents were fueling those riots. And he's particularly focused on like how big tech companies were sort of making society way more polarized. And for him, like the playable artwork will offer like these multiple points of view to sort of offer, I'm not sure if encounters, but at least like all those different points of view, and to try to experiment them, no? to feel how it will feel like to be a police man, or like any of the 6 or 7 characters that are avatars that you can play with. So it can be like as a playground, if you want to experiment different points of view.
Yeah, I think I add on to that and what I said in the beginning. It's an expanded body, so it's the thing that has video games, this power of creating this special kind of empathy of being in the shoes of that character that you are personifying. So being something totally different, being an animal, being a tree, allows you to experiment something different. So it opens up, I think, all the different kind of emotions, and it allows you to experience them, because it kind of, it offers that possibility of freedom, of liberating. And there are a lot of, I'm thinking about VR now, which I'm not so keen on, but VR is a tool that has been really experimenting with this possibility of placing you into a different character. And there was this collective here working, I think it was Be Another Lab. Yeah. Well, they were doing a lot of interesting experiments in that. And I think that, sometimes VR can really help, but it's not necessary. I mean, just playing a video game can make you feel that.
Then in another time we will talk about empathy. There is some critics about them from video game world, but I'm totally agree with you. Marco, please.
No, I just wanted to ask a question, actually. Because,
cool.
No, in the sense, or maybe just in general, going back also to these notions also of intimacy that we've seen here, it made me think once again to more like current development in generative AIs or like LLMs, where like a lot of companionship uses of ChatGPT have been kind of rising and becoming more and more popular. And I've seen also some talk about NPCs using this generative language, right? At the same time, I don't think I've actually seen any game really pushing this forward to a certain extent, but I wonder if maybe, you have some ideas about the kind of further development of this in the context of avatars and NPC and emotional scenarios in these games. You know, like where do you think we're going? Now I'm the moderator. I took over the panel. So we have these 3 guests with us tonight. I would like to pose this question about the future of game art and images.
Trying to think. I mean, the only example that comes to mind, in fact, is like a historical one, Eliza.
Oh.
Which one?
Eliza.
Like really far
time. And I mean, no, but it's like the early times of AI. So it's funny also that this still happens. That we are still up there. Like one of the first models or one of the first chatbots was already presented as a psychoanalyst. And suddenly we are back on there. I mean, I cannot come up with any game in which NPCs, like let's say generated NPCs are already taking place. But I guess that Replica and many other apps that offer this idea of like a companion, an AI companion. They are pretty much gamified. So even if you don't have like a 3D scenario, you might have images because you can ask to generate a synthetic image to sort of embody this companion. That's quite already a game, no? And a successful one in terms at least of how many people is already engaging with these kind of apps and looking for support and to avoid loneliness through chatting to this tool. So I guess it's not an NPC, it's not like let's say an ambient element within the game. It's more of like the element that you engage with as the game itself.
But it's interesting because like all of this has also been structured on the logic of serving the user, right? So over please, also ChatGPT itself, and also this replica. But game design is usually based on this idea of challenges, right? So you don't want a game that is too easy to win, otherwise it's not rewarding enough.
I think, sorry.
No. It depends on which game, and yeah.
Yeah, beautiful question. Thank you to evaluate on my role. I really appreciate that. But we ran out of time. I only say that I think we will see more and more about that. Ubisoft is working on that and for the next generation of Assassin's Creed Saga game with NPC generated by some kind of AI. We will see what does it mean in terms of game design. It's a very huge thing. I think we will be see how games will be connected with more the personal data. The personal data of the user will be very key in connect and develop a specific AI behavior inside the game environment. But that's just an intuition. Call this third block nostalgia for the future. It's also, sorry to do that, but it's also undergoing exhibition you can see right now at La Capella, curated by me and Eurídice Cabañas. And I think it's very, very connected with what we are seeing because the artists talk about some kind of nostalgia, but here nostalgia is not to mean to understand as melancholic, lost of melancholy of something lost, of a mid-time lost in a traditional way. Usually we understand nostalgia in that sense, right? So it's based many political discourse, right-wing discourse use nostalgia in a very specific way. But here the artists do something different. There is a theorist, she's called Svetlana Bayom. She talk about reflexive nostalgia, a nostalgia that look at the past, those past that are totally hidden from history, that are totally cancelled, in order to create this evolved future. So it's a nostalgia for the future because we are looking at the past in order to understand and build different proposal for the future, desirable future that can be really different from the crisis, the economical, ecological, social crisis that is the frame in which we are moving right now in these times, right? So, given that, I came with my question. So, how video games can help to make a collective mourning of something, of a trauma? How video games could be a place for collective trauma and can you think about it, about some example, or how do you think about this possibility of video games?
I guess that maybe not. I'm not sure if they would be video games, but death and and trauma has been quite present online for a long time, I would say, and particularly with social media, I guess that that's been an issue that companies have tried to fix somehow, and to offer like methods to sort of show or represent or let know that someone has passed away, and also to sort of allow friends to sort of mourn and go through that trauma in a very like a straightforward way. I mean, I can think of like how Facebook profiles turn into these sort of places where you post your memories about that person, and all the mechanics that are related to that in social media. How you have to first give permission, so this change on your profile can happen. How you have to connect your profile to your family and friends, so they know who to let know when this happens and who can take over your feed. So how death also, I think that many times challenges and forces these environments to sort of think differently to the logic that they usually use. And that's, I think that's something that can be useful, that can be interesting. On the other hand, more on video games, even if I don't have like a very present example. I mean, I've seen like gatherings when, like in video games or like virtual wars, with someone famous has passed away. But that's, I think, is more of like a popular mourning. It's not so much of like an intimate one. That's what I'm missing, like an example of that, of someone like going through this like process in an intimate way in a video game. And this is more or less what like I think Firas' work does, as a Palestinian as well, no, himself. Like uses also the landscape of The Last of Us, which is a quite dystopic landscape, where there's like very few humans that are still living, to try to reflect, using what the game already is representing, to try to represent, I guess, his own feelings. And that's why I think the work is interesting, because it shows that intimate, even if it is a collective one, because it's a part of like the all Palestinians, I guess. I do like this piece particularly because of that, this ability to use this game to do that exercise.
No, when I'm thinking of nostalgia for the future, maybe thinking more in terms of games, I was thinking also aligned with this we've seen this kind of strand of post-apocalyptic concerns, also related to environment and this anthropocentric moment or vision. I was thinking of Stray, right? Like you're a cat and you're somehow dealing or living in this, again, kind of post-apocalyptic world based on Hong Kong city, walled city. So yeah, I think we've seen quite a few imaginaries that games can manage to shape, as and also going through this like post-human discourse that we mentioned before, right? So the game can provide that sort of nostalgic, right? Like, I'm a cat. I have concerns that are pre-civilization, pre-anthropocentric, and all of that. But I can still live this on this planet as being completely destroyed, but as a cat, which is what I would have loved the game to be. But actually, then it starts giving you mission and giving you jobs. So then you're a cat with a job, right? And then that's a game discussion, I guess. But in terms of like game art, or the possibilities of games to shape this sort of world that have what you frame as this nostalgia for the future, I think that we've seen both game designers and also artists working with games kind of leveraging these possibilities of creating these new landscapes.
It's adding to some, I mean, video games are a great place to process collective trauma. So even either as video games created to deal with a specific issue that could be just as generic as I'm thinking now about Greece, so thinking in a different way, like about a general topic with no specific specific situation or a personal situation that you can relate to, or going into a global thing like what we are seeing now. So it can be a video game that allows you to experience that and to feel represented, or it can be a machinima or a photography in game, so something that is produced after the video game that invite us to think of what could have been. So creating these possible scenarios, playing there, offering these possibilities that are not possible now, but could have been possible if something different had happened. So it's a place to offer that possibility and to open to the discussion, not just leave it there, but really to open.
Yeah, that's make me think about the role of video games with the future. I mean, we are living now in a eco-crisis, in a time of crisis, or multiple crises of the Anthropocene, right? So what's the role of video game and video game culture? How can we handle this? What we should do, not just like a player, but also artists that works with video game culture and materials as aesthetics, reclaim some different kind of aesthetics, taking back the topic of photorealism, for example. Maybe photorealism is something that we cannot afford anymore, or maybe making video game shooting, video game in-game photography with old hardware reconverted. I don't know. I mean, it's an open question. What does means do our art practice with video games in these times of crisis? What we can do? Luján, please. No, I mean, it's a challenge.
With the last one, you made me think about this collective that is like super active now in Buenos Aires, Argentina, that is called Cibercirujas.
I love them.
So all the notion of permacomputing and recycling and giving life to obsolete stuff that has been done. So finding, instead of getting always the last and the new and expanding more and perpetrating the same history as always and replicating the same ways of producing, so building from what was left something new, reusing and I guess, and that kind of resonates with Glitch and with stopping doing this photorealistic. So finding what's really.
Yeah, I was also thinking that video games, I mean, going back to the avatar, also allow us to I mean, not only look from a different point of view, but also like experiment with being other in the sense of the mechanics of the game. I mean, it's not aesthetic, and it's not only the photorealism aesthetics, I guess, but also the mechanics. For instance, the physical mechanics of a game allow you to move differently or to relate differently. I think that the changing oneself of what is used to be might be helpful in this time, to be able to experiment with other ways of being alive. Not only placing you in the shoes of another living being, but being able to experiment from completely different points of view might bring also fresh ideas and approaches to the challenges that we are facing today. So in that case, like how flexible video games are, and more importantly, how accessible are becoming the engines to allow people who didn't have much access to produce games. It's also quite encouraging on that sense, because you don't need like huge studios anymore to produce games. So this also is bringing, like, I guess, or we could bring new ways of thinking about them. No, so all these, like, I guess that is a scenario of possibility that video game culture might offer. I think that's something that we could look at, and also if you like link it also with a certain consciousness on its materiality, as Luján was saying, and not always aiming for the higher res, more photorealistic, fastest console, computer, or anything, but being conscious of the impact that medium has No, those two things combined, I think that they open a huge scenarios possibility. Yeah, and in a very specific way for photography, but in general also for these multiple crises that you were mentioning before. So yeah, that's for me is one of the exciting parts.
And was it also recently, I think, this going back to this obsession for photorealism and the technical development? No, I think last year or so there was also this. Was it the latest Spider-Man? So like big studio that had to cut so many employees because they said, or the thread line was that even all of this kind of photorealism that requires so many people and so much investment was not at the end justifying so much, or like players were more interested in just gameplay, and the industry starting to realize that, okay, we can't just keep on pushing the graphic cards, we have to change something, or yeah, I wonder if that's something that is going to affect also the aesthetics and the practices of machinima and in-game photography. And also, yeah, I think that if we don't see a change from the industry, as much as I love art and photography and design and all of this, I think it will be unlikely that our practices will make such an impact on the changes from such a big industry, which has now kind of surpassed cinema and Hollywood now for years and all of that.
More or less. Yeah. Well, sorry.
No. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that
it's always raw data and put together. When you open up this raw data, I start to look at it from inside, and regionally, it's quite different. The thing, for example, in Europe, it's not producing more than cinema and music together. That's true in USA and in other markets, but not here, for example. So it's. Yeah. I think specification is needed. I think because
that's interesting. Yeah. But still, I think that as much again, like as the role of art is important. I think many of these examples and practices that even reconfigured e-waste and try to work, it's always this drop in the sand. And if we don't see, like changes from the top, it's delusional to think that art will make such an impactful change. Sorry, guys, to break it to you.
Yeah, I think we have enough time. No, we ran out of time. 5 minutes. So, tomorrow we're gonna have a workshop here about how to decolonize the videoludic image, because what drove us to design this workshop was the idea that we need a different, not just aesthetic, but way to read the image itself, because the image itself is convey all the relationship of force that build this industry. So maybe it's a matter of aesthetic, of a new aesthetic, but also a new way, a new look, a new gaze through the image. So maybe we can, as artists, have help the community to cultivate these new gates. Are you working on new gates? Your curating practice is about the gates. What's your final answer about that?
Yes.
And that's it. Definitely, yes. This show is an example. In fact, the whole show is like there's a number of works that look into that, into how the colonial project is so much present on video games and visual culture at large, and how some artists are engaging with it. Even the program that we've done today, I think, has been engaging with that in a few of the works. So I think that artists can question how all this system of producing images not only as representations but as spaces, as tools to interact, as the multiple images that the multiple roles that images have in video games, no? And trying to question them and to also like take them out of their context to look at them from different points of view. And yeah, I think it's quite important also because of how, and particularly I'm coming from photography, so how I see photography as an element that is intertwined with many, many other mediums, not only video games, but also, I don't know, like autonomous cars, or satellite images, space exploration, and many other fields in which photography is so important, and is bringing in all this history of colonial gaze into all those places, while the people who is building all those like mediums look at photography as a transparent element that look at the world without any background, any baggage, and that's quite an issue. And at the same time, people from photography who has been looking at that, looks at video games, have this silly thing that's just for entertainment, and I'm not going to lose my time looking at that. So, and the same goes for the people working on AI, you know, that don't have any visual culture. So I think that people working on photography should join all these practices and sit in between and use all the knowledge that we have gathered throughout the years, questioning how the photographic image brings all these questions of, I mean, colonial impact, of course, but many others related to political issues, no? that are very present in the photographs that then go into all these other mediums. So, yeah, I guess that this exhibition in particular tried to do that.
Yes. And yes, and and yes. Well, my exhibits are exactly about that, about discovering new ways of telling a story and connecting to the video games. And I'm not only focusing on the image. Actually, that's one thing that I want to go outside just connecting through the image and through that sense. For me, it's so important, the interfaces. So that's why I'm interested in interactive, playful, and different kind of controls, because otherwise we are always only so much focused on what we see, and we have so many senses and so many other ways of connecting with what surrounds us. And yeah.
Someone was talking about hipertrofia de la visión. Was a sociologist of the 60s. Well, thank you, Marco, to be here. I enjoyed a lot your talk, a lot. Thank you, Jon. Beautiful exhibition. Please come back here tomorrow to appreciate the exhibition. It's amazing. And thank you, Luján, to participate, to be here, and we will look forward for your next exhibition. So with this final word, we close. Thank you to Fotocollectania. Thank you for the space, the organization, for the support. Thank you to Generalitat de Catalunya for the funding, and the other sponsors like DAM for the beer, and I don't remember who more. Sorry. Thank you all. Bye-bye.